my work.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah.
Hands up if everybody heard me. Awesome. Okay. So yesterday I was talking to Ashley and she was telling me that you guys don't know much about Egypt and you're kind of more interested to know what are the similarities between Egypt and the US and what are we doing differently and how is overall culture different? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you guys want me to talk about specifically, just so I think about that before we start?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh,
We have.
what?
Go ahead.
What kind of
Go ahead.
what kind of currency is used in Egypt?
Currency?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what kind of currency? And then we have some questions about like food and government, hobbies.
Sure.
So if you do you want us just to ask you question by question, or do you want to just kind of talk to us in general?
Well, I'm probably gonna cover a couple of these things, so I could just like talk about a couple of things for a few minutes, and then if I didn't mention something, you guys could go ahead and ask me about that.
Okay. Great.
Well, first things first, I'm Nadine, and I work at the American University in Cairo. This is kind of like a private university. It's one of like the major ones. I work in a place called the Center for Learning and Teaching, and basically what I do is I help out professors in the university to like design their courses better, to teach their courses better, and kind of like engage their students all the time in their courses rather than having people who are sitting like that guy over there. Like you, yeah. No, you, the one to turn around. So we kind of like basically help the faculty out to keep the students interested in their classes, right? Okay, so a couple of things you guys wanted to talk about. I'm gonna discuss the economy and like the currency and all this first. First thing is that I want you guys all to know that we do not use camels as a mode of transportation, because I had a lot of people tell me that. And I've been to the US almost every summer of my life, and you will not believe how many people think I go around on a camel and I live in a tent and all these things. I just wanted to tell you guys that is not the case. Well, for a mode of transportation, I drive a Mini Cooper. Do you guys know what the Mini Cooper car?
Yeah.
Okay, well I mean a camel would be cooler, but I have a Mini, so that's fine. And I live in a house with a TV, Wi-Fi, computers, all sorts of things you have lying around your house and making a huge mess at your place is probably also making the same mess at my place. So we kind of have that in common. What else? I mean, there are some people who still live in tents, and these are called Bedouins, and they live in the desert, so I'll tell you about them a little later. Our text, or like the language that we use, is Egyptian Arabic. Like, Arabic is a very, very broad kind of language that anybody can talk about, and you have like people in Saudi Arabia speaking a totally different dialect of Arabic. It's kind of like Chinese. You have Mandarin and you have Cantonese, yeah? So it's kind of the same thing. We practically all understand each other, but we don't always talk like each other. The text is pretty much similar. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen now so I can show you a couple of things. Do you see my screen?
No.
How about now?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this is Arabic text, right? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So it is not like the hieroglyphics that you would see in Egyptian pharaohs. This is what they used. What's that? That's not Arabic.
I'm not
Can
sure.
you do that closer?
Huh?
Yeah, bring it on up closer to the camera.
Yeah, we're gonna need that a little bit.
No, that's not Arabic. At least I don't really recognize any of these letters.
It means friend. I think it is. It's really hard It's really hard for me to remember what it meant.
It's okay. Well, I wouldn't say that that's Arabic though.
I know.
Okay, so moving on. Thank you so much. Perfect. So this is the kind of Arabic that we use. Back to me now. Okay. That's a couple of things. Egyptian is the language. Usually when you go to a good school in Egypt, you can get by learning a couple of other languages other than Arabic. Like for example, I learned English and French in school, and after school I kind of like picked up a little bit of Greek. So it's a very common thing that Egyptians know to speak more than one language. That's obviously coming from a good school where like it's a private school and you have a good education system and everything. Let me talk about money. Okay, so we use the Egyptian pound. This is a photo. Can you see that? Let me check. Okay, this is 100 Egyptian pounds. Okay, I'm gonna turn around. It has the English on it. Okay, so 100 like one US dollars is equal to 8 Egyptian pounds. Okay, so our one pound, which is right here. Can you see that well?
Yeah.
Okay, our 1 pound is a lot, like it is powerful. Like you can buy something with 1 pound. Like for example, this bottle of water, this could be for 1 pound, right? And for example, I'll put this into context for you. Like McDonald's, everybody eats McDonald's, yes? Okay, so a Big Mac combo meal, for example, is around like 25 Egyptian pounds, and that is around $3.15. And you guys would have that as an average of what, $5 to $6? Yeah? A combo meal and McDonald's? Okay, so basically in Egypt it's a lot cheaper than, or it's almost like half price. Like for example, if you go and you travel to somewhere where there's a beach and all that, I'll tell you guys a couple of beautiful cities that we have and I'll show you a couple of pictures. When we travel to these areas, we could like sit in a 5-star hotel with like pools and beach use and everything, and the night would be around less than 100 US dollars.
Wow.
So it's remarkably cheaper than in the US, where we go and we spend all our savings basically when we travel. So it's pretty cool the fact that we have better cost for money and like cheaper. We have everything here. We have like McDonald's, KFC, Hardee's, and all sorts of these awesome food places. So that's about international food. We have that here. Like I was just telling Ashley yesterday that about a couple of weeks ago we had Dunkin' Donuts open up right next to my university, and everybody literally went crazy. I came to work and nobody was here at freaking 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, where are you guys? They were like, oh, we're at Dunkin' Donuts.
What?
So that's pretty exciting.
That's fun.
Yeah. What else do I have here? We have a lot of like ethnic Egyptian foods. I'm gonna show you a couple of pictures. So one of the very common Egyptian foods is called molokhia, and these are like leaves that we get and we chop off the very tiny little pieces. And we add some water and like garlic and spices over that, and we eat that either with rice or bread, right? We eat bread with almost everything, okay? Like everything. I mean, if we have people coming over for dinner and we don't have bread just lying around there on the dining table, we'd be like, oh my god, they didn't have bread on the dining table, okay? So it's a big deal to have bread. Have you guys heard of falafels?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It almost looks like broccoli.
Are very popular here as well. Have you heard of this dish? It's called baba ganoush.
Baba ganoush.
No, it's kind of like it's eggplant paste, and the way that we pronounce it is baba ganoug. And a lot of people in the Western world always say baba ganoush, and that's not really the correct name for it. So if you hear anybody say that, later on you can tell them actually the correct way to say that is baba ganoug. What else do I have here? Yeah, the type of bread that we eat is very different than toast. it kind of looks like, do you see that clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of looks like pita bread that's very like Lebanese, but it's thicker and it's way yummier. Those are some of the common kinds of foods that we eat, and like molokhaya is something everybody just absolutely loves. I mean, if anybody is picky with food, they're never picky with molokhaya. Like we have all these like little kids. And like everybody keeps saying, oh, my kid doesn't eat anything, oh, my kid's very picky with food, or I can't really have my children eat all different sorts of vegetables and stuff. And they just like give them molokhaya and it's like magic. I swear to God, every single Egyptian, small, big, thin, fat, young, old, everybody has molokhaya with rice and with bread. So it's pretty delicious, I must say, if everybody really likes it that much. Do you guys have any like questions so far? Do you want to ask me anything? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
What is the
Actually,
most...
could you like moderate this because I saw a lot of hands. So
Yes, I will. Yes. What would you like to ask?
What is the most popular dance over there, and can you show us?
Do you want me to start dancing for? Oh, okay. I was not prepared to dance today.
It's okay if you don't want to dance.
Well, it's obviously belly dancing is very popular. Have you guys heard or seen belly dancing before? Anybody show of hands?
I told you.
No.
Okay. So this is just a traditional way, like a woman would dress, like with like these two a top and a bottom kind of like outfit. And she would be shaking her waist in very different and kind of very weird and difficult ways. I mean, it looks very easy, but it's way more difficult than it looks. So it's beautiful and everything, and it's very well known. And lately we've been getting a lot of international and foreigners learning how to belly dance and dancing in very popular places in Egypt. And it's kind of like very weird, where like it's kind of like having an Arab or something hip hop or rap, you know? It's a very different kind of thing. And like we have these, for example, Russian women, they're very beautiful and they know how to dance very well, but it's kind of awkward where you see something that's very Eastern and very Arabian being done by a foreigner. So it's pretty cool. And to answer your question, that's belly dancing. And I could send you a video of somebody belly dancing, but I'm not gonna start dancing right now. I'm at work. If people see me dancing, they're gonna, I don't know.
We're gonna freak out.
Freak out? Yeah.
Freak out?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah?
All right. Who else? Now, a lot of the some of the students are going to have to leave. They're changing classes, but we'll still have some students, and we're going to record it for them and let them see it. Is that okay?
Okay. So, do I have any more questions right now?
What are some of the hobbies that are common there?
Hobbies? Okay, so people over here, I'm going to take a picture of you guys very quickly.
Uncommon and uncommon.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. So, hobbies, for example, people really like hanging out. I mean, everybody, I mean, especially my age, I'm pretty young, I'm like 20, 22. Bye, see you guys later.
She's going to bring, like, I know you're limited with your time. She's going to bring her next class, and they may catch some of what you're talking about, but we still have some students here that's going to continue talking, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And I'm sorry, basically what happened with the drills, it kind of mixed up our schedules.
No problem, it's fine. I get it. We have all these drills all the time, and they get us mixed up as well.
Okay, great. But these girls here are still with me, and they have some more questions too.
Okay, why don't you guys go ahead and tell me what you guys want to know?
Okay, what kind of careers, like what do you do?
Well, I'm in the education field, basically. So the way I found out my passion and the reason why I wanted to do that is when I was in university, like first or second year, I had this class that I was taking that made me go teach the workers in our, like the cleaners and the housekeepers and all that in my university. I would teach them English. very basic level English because they were from a low socioeconomic status and they could not really afford a private school education that would give them that kind of language. So I would go out there and engage and volunteer with that community and teach them English. And I was very happy while I was teaching them. It was one of the things that I kind of felt like I've always wanted to do. And that's how I tried to get into education. And right now I'm doing my master's degree in education so I can become an educator. So that's kind of the way I found out I wanted to do that. Very commonly would you find engineers and doctors. I mean, it's a very, very common field here in the kind of like my parents' generation. You would find so many engineers and so many doctors that you would be surprised if you find somebody other than that. I mean, it would kind of be shocking. My generation is having it very differently. I mean, there are a lot of different people that are pursuing different careers like marketing, advertising. You have people in science and biotechnology. You have people in the humanities. They go work in ministries, for example, and like politics. So people are doing all sorts of things. And right now, the arts and acting and these things and singing are becoming very well known. I mean, earlier in the day, it wasn't really like that. So these fields are becoming very much more popular now, and we're getting a lot of these bands that are coming up that are from the youth. So it's growing for sure. But earlier, I mean, about like 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't the case. You'd find very like ministers, doctors, teachers, professors, like these like very big, heavy kind of careers. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like
so
you said,
you
ministers. Like you said, a lot of ministers. So, like, what type of religions are very common?
Okay. We have. Well, Egypt is predominantly following the Islam religion. Have you guys ever heard of Islam?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah? Do you know anything about it?
Not really. We did have a student that was Islamic here, so she did like a culture presentation a couple of years ago, but these students haven't gotten to do that. We also do we've done a culture fair, so they're exposed to it a little bit and they learn a little bit about it, but
okay.
not a lot, not a lot.
The religion is called Islam, and the people who follow it are called Muslims. And Egypt is predominantly Muslim. A lot of like the countries around the Gulf and the MENA region, which is Middle East and North Africa, they follow the Islam religion. But we have also it's a bit of a minority, but we have Christians, a lot of Christians in Egypt, but they're a bit different than U.S. Christians because you guys. In the U.S., they follow predominantly Catholicism, right?
There's a lot of Catholics, mostly in the northern parts of the country, but here you're going to have just more Protestant, I think, like more,
okay.
So you're going to have more like just, that's not, I mean, there's some differences, but...
Ashley, I can't hear you very well. Can you come closer?
Oh, yes. Sorry. You
Sure.
have a lot of Catholics, but mostly it's going to be in northern states. We live in what you would call the Bible Belt. We have a lot of that.
Of Catholics, and it's a group of people. So we have these very different churches that follow different sects of Christianity as well. But I would say the majority of Christians in Egypt would be Copts and Orthodox Christians. But like I said, they're the minority in comparison to the whole population. I think right now we're at 90 million Egyptians in the whole country of Egypt, not just Cairo. So we have like 26 different governorates. Cairo is the capital. Another very big city is Alexandria also. What else? Do you guys have more questions, or should I just okay, tell me.
What is the biggest difference between Egypt and the U.S.?
Okay, the biggest difference, that's a tricky one. Let me think about it. I mean, we have a lot of similarities. I mean, like I said, I've been to the U.S. a lot. We have a lot of similarities in terms of it. Okay, so there's one thing you kind of want to understand right now is that in Egypt, because it's a very large population, there are very different socioeconomic statuses. Like people who are from a lower income areas, people who are from a middle class or middle income areas, and people who are higher income areas. And the socioeconomic status kind of defines your customs and your traditions in a way. And some things are okay in that status, and some things aren't okay in another, and vice versa. So, I mean, I'm from a middle higher socioeconomic status, and I could talk to you about myself. I mean, I have not really engaged much because the country is kind of like segregated in a way, because I've been in private education and private school, private university. So these are the kinds of people that I interact with and hang out with, basically. You know what I mean? So I would be better able to speak of that socioeconomic status. So, for example, what is something that's very common in terms of hobbies, like you would find a lot of people that like to read. You'd find a lot of people who are into sports. I mean, I'm very much into running. I go running every morning. Very much into music, pop culture, dancing. We go out at night. We go travel together. So we have all these like similarities between like doing all these fun stuff. What else? Major differences would be very traditional and cultural based. So, for example, one thing that is flat out very different. Like you guys, or most of U.S. students move out to the dorms in their university when they have to start their university, right? In Egypt, nobody does that. We stay with our parents because usually, I mean, in Cairo, there are the best universities in Cairo anyway, so you wouldn't really need to move to another city. So I mean, if you're staying with your parents, I mean, might as well, it's easier. So we have a lot of people who come from Alexandria, which is the second biggest city in Egypt. We have a lot of students coming from there. We have other people coming from different places, and they come over here in our university and they stay in the dorms. We have one that's on campus, and we have one that's off campus, and that's very much downtown. So that's kind of like the only instance where people would move out for university purposes or for studying. But otherwise, both girls and guys would stay with their parents until it's time to get married and move out of the house to live with the husband or the wife in that new house. So I would say that's one of the big differences, or in tradition or in culture. For example, like handshakes are also very common between Egypt and the U.S. You would find girls, when they greet each other, they would hug and kiss, like one kiss on each cheek. Guys as well, when they meet, they don't just give a handshake. I mean, if they're good friends, if they had just met, obviously a handshake would be more appropriate, but sometimes when friends meet up with each other, they also give each other like a little hug or also kiss on either cheek. In terms of girls and guys greeting each other, because people are more, how do I want to say this? They're very modest and they're a bit traditional in their dealings with girls and guys together. Some people would not feel comfortable doing that, and that's fine, so a handshake would be okay in these situations. But I mean, with close friends and close family, I mean, a lot of people in my age group and in my society, it's fine if we just like greet each other. I mean, it's pretty cool. There aren't any of these problems. What else? Can you think of something that I might that would make it easier for me to think about differences or could?
Do you all have any questions?
Is your all scenery different than ours, or is it pretty much the same?
Well, that depends on which state you are. So I haven't been to Kentucky, so you can tell me a little bit about your scenery, and I can tell you how ours is a bit different.
Well, we live in Somerset, and it's a small city in comparison to somewhere like New York City, but it's very small in comparison. What's our population, would you think?
58,000.
We have about 58,000 people in our city, but like where I lived previously, just 30 minutes away, the population was 16,000. So we are a very rural area.
Okay, so lots of greenery.
Yes, so I'm sure that yours is probably more comparable maybe to New York City, or is it a lot larger than that? Maybe that would help them to visualize.
It isn't exactly, because New York City is like tiny in comparison to Cairo. Okay. So we have a lot of rural cities as well, and over there you would find really green, really beautiful areas because our weather is not extreme in one way or another. Like I know you guys might have heard that the Middle East is very hot, and that is absolutely true in some of the Arabian Gulf countries, like Saudi Arabia, like Kuwait, like Qatar, like these Bahrain, these areas are scorching hot. I mean, you have no idea. But here in Egypt or in Cairo, I mean, I think the hottest it's ever been, or around like 45 degrees Celsius, which is I think around 100 Fahrenheit. So it's not really hot, and it does not get really cold either. I mean, again, the coldest it could ever go is about 10 degrees Celsius. So this weather is actually really good for greenery. We don't really have that much rain, so that's why sometimes we would have more yellow and sandy and desert kind of areas than green, but that's in the urban places. In the rural places, you would find a lot of greenery. People would farm a lot. People would invest in having good planting machinery and techniques, and they're very big on agriculture and farming there. So that's probably why that difference would happen. In terms of, because that's only Cairo. I mean, if you think about the Sinai area, you guys know where Sinai is in Egypt? It's basically where the Red Sea is. Have you heard of the Red Sea? Yeah? Okay, so you have a lot of cities there that are called Sharm el-Sheikh and Gharda'a, that's called Hurghada in English. We have another place called Dahab. I could show you a couple of pictures. We have the Red Sea, so the scenery is beautiful there. You have the sea and the beach as well. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is one picture of the beach here. This is in Sharm el-Sheikh. These are very famous corals and coral life and underwater life. So snorkeling and diving are very popular and very common activities that we have. This is another photo. This is in Dahab. Okay, this is a very popular place over there in Dahab for divers. It's called the Blue Hole, and it's like very dangerous to go diving there, but it's also very exciting if you know what you're doing and if you're a safe diver and you take all the precautions. So it's a very famous diving site for divers in Egypt. And it's not just the beach that's beautiful around here, it's also the desert and the mountains are amazing. We have a rock climbing center in Sinai, in Dahab. So this is a photo of somebody rock climbing over there. The mountains are beautiful. Let me look for another couple of photos for mountains for you guys. So if you can see, some of these pictures are absolutely real. You would find wild camels. There were a couple of times I found I saw foxes. It's just beautiful around there. So these are literally, like, I was in Dahab about a couple of months ago, and this is probably one of like a very similar photo that I took with my own iPhone. Is like this one. So this is pretty cool in terms of scenery, because whenever we go on road trips, it really never gets boring, you know. So it's pretty cool. I could show you a couple of other photos for beaches around Sharm el-Sheikh. So you have this, and this is actually like. Honestly, I also took a very similar photo to this. It's not just Photoshop and it's not just Google Images. I promise it does look like that. I was just there, and this area over here, you see this lighthouse? It's a very famous lighthouse around there, and over here there's usually a lot of hotels around this coastline. Like over here you see these white buildings, this is a hotel. I was sitting at a very similar, like a hotel that's very close to this lighthouse area, and I literally took this same exact picture. I actually could show you on my phone so you can believe me. It's pretty amazing. So this is the kind of scenery. We have a lot of things. We have not as much greenery, because of the lack of rain and the lack of moisture. But when you take care of a certain land and you plant and have your land with agriculture and you focus on that, it's very possible. I mean, the weather does not make that very difficult. Okay, let me get you the photo. While I look for the photo, why don't you guys ask me something?
Your education system, like, how are the schools different from ours?
How is my school different from yours?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, so here's the photo.
It's neat.
This is in a place called Sharm el-Sheikh. Absolutely amazing. Just was there a few weeks ago, and the pretty cool thing about this is that it's really close. So it's like a 1 hour flight or a 5 hour road trip drive. And you practically don't really feel it because it's a really cool drive. What else? So the education system, yeah. We have, like I said, we have private and public schools, okay? The public education system is not like the US public education system. It's not very good. The curriculum is not designed well, the teachers are not trained well. It just tends to get a lot less importance because of lack of funding, right? And so public schools are automatically much better because they cost money to get the students in them, and obviously that helps with getting better teachers and more teachers and getting better books and better curricula and having better classrooms and technology and all that stuff. So the private schools are much better, and depending on the family's financial abilities, they would put their kids in the private schools that kind of like matches that. So you have a lot of different ones. I was from a private school. It wasn't like the best or the most expensive, but it was good enough. It got me into the best school in the best university in the region. I was okay. I mean, my GPA wasn't that bad, and I graduated well with my honors and everything. So it's just private schools are much better. So that's one of the main differences, right, in our education systems. It also depends. We have private schools that follow the UK or the British education system, where they go to IGSE and these things, and we also do the American diploma. We have other schools that follow the American diploma, where we take the SATs, we study almost like the exact same way American systems work. We have a lot of different private schools that are language based. So we have French schools that are predominantly French, so you learn everything in French. You also learn English as well, very good English, but you, for example, take science, math, chemistry, everything in French. So these follow the French systems, of course, and the same goes for German. We have all these ones. We don't have, I think we have a Greek school as well, but it's not as popular. So this is one of the major differences. We have a lot of different things to choose from when it comes to schools and education.
Great.
Any other questions?
Anyone have any other questions? Yes.
Yes?
He's asking about the time difference. So they are 6 hours ahead of us. So what time is it there?
No, is it 6 or 9? 6? It's 5:15 in the afternoon.
Okay, it's 11:15 here in the morning.
So it's 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to the US, I mean, I lived in Canada for a while, right? I lived in Montreal. I did a study abroad program over there. I went there for about 6 months. When I came back, the jet lag was terrible. I stayed for about like 2 weeks, up all night in Egypt and asleep all day because that would be the time that I would be up in Canada. So my biological clock was pretty messed up at the time. And whenever I go on vacation in a far place, if, for example, if it's in the US or Malaysia or something, I mean, I come back and my jet lag is just upside down. So yeah, we're a totally different time zone. What else? This is exciting.
Yeah, you've been so informative. Thank you. What about like the crime rate and crime there? Is there a lot of violence? Because I know it's a large city, or we're always hearing things in the news about like. I think that's kind of what our students hear is just things like violence going on. So could you talk to them a little about that?
Yeah, well, one thing I have to tell you guys is that you honestly need to think about the things you hear on the news and kind of go and do your own research because it is sometimes, most of the time it is not what's going on in the magnitude. Like, for example, we have a very, very tiny incident where practically it could not even get mentioned on local news and it would be breaking news on CNN, for example. And if I go online, because I read the global news almost every day, as well as local news, obviously. And I mean, the things that are huge in the country and are related to major like policy reform or big changes that are really good, you would never even hear about them in global news, and you would only hear about a very small incident that happened somewhere in the city that is like not even, I wouldn't even know the name of. So I think that's one of the things you guys need to know. Crime rate is obviously, I mean, when you go to shady and sketchy and dodgy areas, it is probably unsafe. I mean, I think that's the case everywhere. You just don't go anywhere alone very late at night to a place that is secluded where there's really nobody around. I mean, I think that's pretty much everywhere. We have good security nowadays. It's good. It's a bit more stable than it was before after the revolution. Have you guys heard about the revolution?
I think some have, yeah.
There was a big Egyptian revolution in 2011 where the government was asked to step down and forming another government. So for the past while we've been doing okay, security has been okay. We were able to travel and go out and have no problems. I mean, when the revolution time was happening, we couldn't really go out as, not even just as girls, I mean, as girls or as a group of people, we couldn't go out at night and stay up late. Not that anything would ever happen, but it was just a sense of being safe, that's all. Being responsible about going out. So we couldn't really go out until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But that was, either way, that is pushing it wherever you are. That is still, you are staying out too late. That is a sense of being a bit unsafe in terms of your surroundings. So it's just a general kind of thing. Crime rates sometimes are high, sometimes are low. It's not a general rule. Generally, if you know where you're going and you're going with people that you know to places that are not shady or not dodgy, you should be fine. I mean, I think it's pretty safe. I mean, I would find it a lot better to travel inside the country, and I would go to Sinai, I'd go rock climbing, I'd go to the beach, diving and snorkeling and just like sitting around there, and really nothing would happen. So I think international media kind of magnifies the situation a lot more than they should. And sometimes I couldn't blame them because as far as they know, they don't have a lot of people here telling them what's actually happening. So, I mean, just do your own back research when you encounter these things, I would say.